All right, today we're going to talk about the RIE method.
All right, you've probably heard a lot of different things. If you've ever heard of the RIE method, it probably seems very simple to you because it actually, in the end, is very simple, but it doesn't seem simple when you're learning it.
Because it takes practice. You have to be consistent.
So first, we're just going to tell you the basic principles of RIE. RIE is something that was created by a woman named Magda Gerber. She learned and studied through this pediatrician named Emmy Pickler in Eastern Europe, I think in Hungary, came to America in the 60s and 70s, developed this RIE. RIE stands for
Resources for Infant
Educarers. That's a name she came up with because you're a caregiver, and our job is to help educate our children through care, not necessarily like educate them by teaching them. Right? So the first principle of RIE
is basic trust.
We trust that they can initiate, the child can explore, and that they're a self-learner. We just trust that.
And just know that they trust that they know and that they're capable to do the things you think you have to teach them. They don't need to be taught. They know what to do. They know how to do. You just have to create them.
I think what we're taught, at least in my experience, is that babies aren't aware, they're helpless, that they need, but this really approaches it from a different place of understanding that they will tell you what they need and you trust them, they trust you. The second principle is about a safe environment. So,
creating a safe space.
Yeah, so we created these safe spaces and people keep calling it a baby jail. We've had a lot of people, you do the baby jail thing.
It's actually, I would consider it more freedom for the baby than jail, because in these spaces, the baby is free to move about with no concern for safety, and we don't have to kind of keep them in line. They can just do whatever they want.
You don't have to say no to anything.
Yeah, you don't have to say no.
Everything in there.
I don't even want to say no while I'm explaining it.
So it's all about helping them just understand in the first 2 years. This is what I love about RIE. The first 2 years are the most important 2 years of a human being's life because it's when your brain is developing. So if you're teaching them that the world is safe, that the people who care about them will create a safe environment for them, that everything they want to do, we've created a space where they can just explore, and we don't have to be like, no, don't do this, don't do that.
They're free to be themselves in the environment without us guiding or...
Because then as they grow bigger and the world expands and they start to understand more, they can go internal and know, okay, safe. I have a safe place. That's at home. That's with my parents, right? And I know how to go internal and trust myself, right? So we've given them that space.
Yeah.
To me, that was groundbreaking. And since we moved to New York City,
it's been so
if we
helpful.
didn't have that safe space, I don't think he would have adjusted as quickly as he has.
No, because it was a similar thing that we had in Texas. And also because it's just easier to be able to put him down, and he has a place to play that we don't have to worry about, and he doesn't need to be stressed out either. So
we got the third principle is that you give your child time for uninterrupted play. So what does that mean? It means you let them play without you feeling like you have to
entertain them or teach them, which is really, this is one of the hardest things I think to do, because you always just want to make sure that your child is happy, or
we also believe that if we're not stimulating them, that they're not learning, and yet they are learning about everything all the time. Just seeing the sun come through the window, they're learning about light and depth, and they're learning about dust particles in the air. I mean, you don't have to do anything.
And the uninterrupted play really gives them an opportunity to stretch their attention span, by being able to focus on their task, the task that they want to do, and it's not a task that we have set out for them. It's kind of them finding their own interests and creativity and focusing on that. So as long as we don't interrupt them, they're able to expand their attention span, which is obviously a lifelong thing that you want as a human, right? Especially in today's day and age. right?
And then the fourth thing is giving them freedom to interact with other infants. That's been hard because we haven't
a hard one.
really been able to get them into that environment. But I've been
We're
able
starting to, though.
a little bit here in New
Yeah.
York. And that's been cool to be able to take them to a group class where there's facilitators and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
This is, to me, the most important thing, and we'll talk just like for a minute about like how we plan our day with using the RIE method. But it's the time for when you're doing what they call caregiving activities, so diaper changes, feeding, and just like snuggle time, just holding them. That's the most valuable time where you really want to be connecting, making eye contact, connection with the child, engaging them in the activities. So like learning, like getting him to actually participate in the diaper changes and participate in the feedings, and even just
Instead
like
of them
picking out his clothes, right?
Yeah.
Like, which clothes do you want to
We
wear?
give him a choice about pajamas every night, instead of him being like a passive
participant.
passive
He's actually
baby that we're just
yeah.
doing things to, right? From as early as we could, we started engaging with him, and maybe he doesn't always completely understand, but he starts to learn.
Yep.
And he feels like respected. Yeah, he feels respected and a part of what we're actually doing, and not he has an actual choice in the matter.
Well, also like those times, like the diaper changing and the feeding, are the times where he kind of gets to absorb you, so that when you get into a play space, he feels confident enough to be on his own, to just be independent and confident in himself, that he knows he's got his time with his parents. That was hard because most of us are just like, I gotta get the diaper change over, I gotta get the feeding over.
Because sometimes it's not easy.
But that participation is huge, and I feel like you start to see, at least for us, as he gets older, he really is engaged.
And also when those activities are difficult, because he's usually involved in them, he is upset but will participate in some level. Do you know what I mean?
Even if he's having feelings about it, maybe he doesn't want to do a diaper change, he at least still knows he's participating.
What's happening.
And we allow him to have his feelings, right? And then
the next principle is sensitive observation, which again, this one seems very easy, and it's not, because it comes back to uninterrupted playtime, and just being able to quietly observe your child.
Well, and I think it's like at any time. I think a lot of the one of the big things you learn is something they call Terry time, which is like when you say something, you give them space to respond. And at first you might think, oh my God, but sometimes like you think you're waiting long enough, and the truth is you're not. Like the slower you go, the more time you give, the more you're going to start to understand your infant. It's insane. But most of the time I have to remind myself to slow down. If he's having feelings, I need to just slow down and see things from his perspective. What is he looking at? What is he reaching for?
Take his cues.
Even having conversations. I'm not sure what it is you need right now. I want to figure this out. I want to help you. So it's just like having that
open dialogue with them as soon as possible.
And then the last thing is consistency. And that's hard, right? Like
consistency with time, consistency with the way we put his toys out every day. We try and do it the same every day. And if we find that he wants to maybe play with another toy, we will swap it out. Consistency with feeds, consistency where we change his diaper, where we feed him, consistency with his sleep schedule, and the way, not necessarily the way we put him down. I mean, I guess that is a little bit a part of it, but really with, how we put him down.
So for us, like I think a lot, it's very easy to get your own agenda sort of mixed in. Well, I want to go do this, I want to socialize, I want to do this or that. But for us, like as parents, like we wanted to raise this child, we want to give this most important time in his life, his first 2 to 3 years, as much opportunity for him to be the best version of himself that he can be, because this sets up the rest of his life. So this is the priority, and it can be very easy to be like, well, I need to do this or I need to do that. And of course, if you have to work, you have to work. But like understanding that, as much as you can create consistency for that environment for him, the better. We don't have multiple caregivers. We have one other caregiver and us. So that there's a sense of trust, right? So the way our day looks is we get up at 7. We get him up at 7.
He gets up at 7.
We try to get up a little bit before that. That's been harder these days. Get him up at 7. He usually eats. He usually wants to do, so we do a feeding, we do a diaper change, then he plays, and we take him into his play space where his toys are arranged exactly the same every day. And the reason you do this, we don't have any toys that have batteries, there's no electronics, literally the basic toys, because one of the things they say is active toys make passive children, but passive toys make active children. So the more imaginative they can be, the more active they're going to be. And we've seen this. We have, like, I'm telling you, I've put Maverick in situations with other kids where there's electronics and music and all this stuff going on. And Maverick is so active compared to the other kids. And it's remarkable. So that's what we do. We have that safe space. One of the big things with RIE is outdoors time, nature. That was really easy in Texas.
So
it's
easy.
Much harder
we had
here.
A big play space outside for him.
And he loved being outside. He loves the birds, but it's cold here. We do a lot of walks.
It's actually not too bad considering, but yes.
And the parks, you don't know what's in the grass, so we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Then, he naps around 9:30.
9:30 right now. That's what's happening.
He'll
9:30.
usually do an hour and a half nap.
Like
He's probably gonna wake soon.
Yeah.
Then we do another wake time.
Of the same kind of
same thing,
like
playtime,
diaper change, playtime.
And then we'll go, for a walk again. Then he'll do another nap at 2:30. Very consistent. He sleeps. We have a sound machine. It's a pitch black room. He has a sleep sack.
Which I don't know that necessarily those things are right.
No, we learned that through our sleep nurse,
so
and it's been. But again, it is RIE in that it's been very consistent and very respectful of him and his.
And that was why it was so easy
rest.
to transition him here, is because we tried to replicate what we do everywhere else. So he was able to sleep through the night the first night we were here. So.
And even traveling, we'll bring a slumber pod, and we bring his sleep sack with him, so he has the same sleep sack. We'll even take the sheet off of his crib so that it smells the same. So trying to be very consistent for him in that way, so that he feels at home. And then usually he's in bed by 7, and I gotta tell you, like, he sleeps through the night. He's slept through the night since he was like 3 months, and that consistency has been so valuable. But the thing about RIE for me is people make fun of it because it's a bit hippy dippy, or they think it's like, you're not saying no, right? Some people are like, oh, you have to say no to your kid.
You do.
You do say no, ways. But it's more impactful when you say it, because you're not saying it all the time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, like, honoring his feelings. That's been a really hard one, because a lot of times with a baby, you just want to
make them feel better.
Yeah. I'm gonna fix it.
What can I do? How
can I
fix you? What can I do? You're upset.
But that's not reality.
Yeah.
Like, as
sometimes
a
you're upset.
being, you have feelings, and
you have to move through it.
The more we've really embraced that, the more I see that he will be very clear when he wants you to step in and help, and when he doesn't. And sometimes he's just upset, and he wants to be frustrated, and he wants to have his feelings, and he doesn't want you to step in and fix it. And at 10 months old, I can't believe it. Like, yesterday, he literally shooed me away, because and I was like, do you need me? He said, he pushed me away. Cool, all right, you're just upset. And honoring that, because I wasn't taught how to honor that or to set boundaries. Like, we didn't teach that in my family, or how to, like, respect your feelings. You're allowed to be upset if you're upset. I don't have to fix it, and I don't have to judge it, and I don't have to name it. I don't have to tell you you're being overreactive or whatever. I can just say, cool, you're having upset feelings. Feel your feelings. Go somewhere and express them, and move through them. And it's so, to me, that's like emotional intelligence and healthy.
I mean, I think the thing that I really like about it is all of the benefits that he gets out of it, yes, but the simplicity for parenting is super helpful because of the consistency. It allows at least myself to feel freer in parenting and being there for him, because I have these principles.
We didn't even talk about feeding.
Yeah. I just, anyways, so
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
No, but you're right. Like, it helps you have, like, it helps us have like similar.
Yeah, it's because we try to parent the same, and we don't always do, but we try to do the best we can based on these principles, and it guides us in like a freeing kind of way.
Yeah, and helps us stay on the same page.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, now we're getting into solids, and we're moving away from bottles, and that's a whole nother process with RIE that
We can talk about that in another video.
Yeah, but I was very doubt-filled about it. Like, I'm not sure this is gonna work.
And it works.
And it's working.
It
So
works
we'll
so
do a
good.
separate video about
Yeah.
feeding the RIE method.
Anyway,
Anyway, this is your introduction to how we do RIE in our family. Let us know down below if you have any specific questions about this method. We'll put some books down in the description so you could check it out if you're interested in learning more. And we'll see you in the next video.
bye.
Bye.